Welcome to this new YouTube channel, which we hope will deal with anything about Bemba and UmuBemba. Most of the information that you want to know about Bemba and UmuBemba you find here. We'll be giving you bits and bits, but not everything. Let me introduce myself. I am Mukuka. Well, in the register of Zambian nationals, Richard Mukuka, but Mukuka is my first name. Richard is my other name. As you will understand in the course of our discussions, Bemba do not have surnames. So they'll give you the first name, which we call Mtoto, and you might get a second or third name just as a differentiating name. Otherwise, the most important name is Mtoto, your first name. So I am Mukuka. In the past 10 years, I've been doing research on Bemba and UmuBemba, and I've written 4 books, I think 4. Yeah, four. Okay. This one is the biggest and the most comprehensive one. Okay. Bemba, UmuBemba, Understanding the Bemba Cultural World. Okay. I've also done subject-specific books on the institution of kinship, which in the Zambian law is recognized as chieftainship. I've written about the history of the Bemba people. I've also written about the annual Kusefia Pangwena traditional ceremony, which takes place in August, usually the second week of August. And I've also written about traditional songs. Now, a channel like this will discuss matters of culture. For some people, they might think culture is not important, but I do believe, as a social scientist, I do believe it's a very important aspect of human identity. We are moving towards what people call a global village. Now, within that global village, you have the meeting of cultures, the meeting of philosophies, the meeting of worldviews, and within that meeting of cultures, worldviews, and perspectives, every member needs to bring his or her worldview. Diversity is a very important aspect of our lives. Okay? When you look at human beings, there is a lot of uniformity. Okay? Human beings, anybody classified as a human being shares a lot of similarities and a similarity with other human beings. Okay? But then, we do not only share similarities, we also share differences. Every level of identity brings with it differences. Okay? For instance, some people do see people in terms of race. Okay? And as soon as you bring in race, you assign a race group to one person and another, you find there will be differences between the two. There will be differences. When you bring in other things like religion, okay, what a Christian person the way a Christian person sees some aspects of life will be very different from the way a Muslim or a Buddhist sees those things. But then beyond that also, any other human grouping brings with it differences. Okay, when you look at issues like nationality, okay, for instance, here in Africa we have a lot of countries. Okay, as Africans we share a lot of similarities, but when we go down to the national level, okay, although nations were an artificial creation of the colonial governments, but that history of colonialism has created differences in the way we see things. You find that if you bring somebody from Zambia and you bring another person from Kenya, you bring another person from Nigeria, there will be aspects of life that will be very different. Okay? But even beyond that, when you come down even to issues like ethnicity, in Zambia, as a unity, we are all Zambians, yes, and we share a lot of commonalities, yes, but then we have about 73 ethnic groups within Zambia, and you will appreciate the fact that those ethnic groups come with their own differences. They are different. Okay, they have different values, they have different attitudes towards work, they have different attitudes towards authority, and all those smaller things. Okay, so in order to facilitate dialogue between people from two different groups, race groups, religious groups, and nationalities, ethnicities, in order to facilitate dialogue, we need to appreciate the differences that we have as people. Because without appreciating that difference, we won't be able to have meaningful negotiations. The other day I was sitting and thinking very, very carefully. And you see, when you look at just a very simple thing like the national anthem for Zambia. Okay, national anthem for Zambia. In English, there is I think the second line. It talks about land of work and joy in unity. Okay, when you look at unity and you expose that word to a native English speaker, okay, the word unity denotes oneness. Okay, it denotes oneness. So what happens is that for a native English speaker, when they hear the value that we have embedded as a nation in our national anthem, unity, which also we have embedded in our national motto, One Zambia, One Nation. When you look at that value of unity, for a native English speaker, it denotes oneness. Okay, and when you want to understand that word etymologically, you find it linked to the Latin word unus, okay, which also means one. Okay. Now, take up for instance UmuBemba, UmuBemba in Zambia. When Bemba are singing the national anthem, the same national anthem, now they sing it in Chivemba. Okay? The same line where in English you are saying land of work and joy in unity. Okay? UmuBemba will sing nechilumba twange tumfwane. Nechilumba twange tumfwane. Okay? UmuBemba uses the word tumfwane for that same value we are talking about. Now, when you bring in a little bit more understanding of Chivemba, tumfwane is a word that tumfwane is an imperative, a word that is derived from the verb ukumfwa, an infinitive ukumfwa. Now, ukumfwa means to hear, to listen, to understand. Okay? Now, what happens is that in the language of UmuBemba Chibemba, the infinitive ukumfwa is transformed to another word. When you add na at the end, it becomes ukumfwana. Okay, because it's from ukumfwana that you in the end get tumfwane. Okay, now ukumfwana, okay, entails reciprocity. Okay, I hear what you are saying and you hear what I'm saying, so I have to speak and you listen, and you have to speak and I listen. Okay, but also it means getting along. Okay, getting along. Okay, so what you see in the verb tumfwane for UmuBemba, it doesn't presuppose oneness as it would, as the word unit would do for a native English speaker. For UmuBemba, there is plurality implied, but then within that plurality, they expect you to get along. That is what the value means for UmuBemba. You acknowledge plurality. Okay, we are different people, but then you get along. The other person speaks, you listen. You also have the chance to speak, and the other person listens. Okay. So, while we are talking about the same value, unity in English, okay, UmuBemba will hear something else. And I'm sure in other languages, among the 73 languages of Zambia, you find there are also those aspects at play. Okay, so unless you understand these cultural differences, intercultural dialogue becomes difficult. Because, for instance, a native English speaker will be talking about unity, presupposing oneness. UmuBemba will be talking about kumfwana, presupposing you are equality and plurality and getting along. Okay, so without this basic understanding, you won't understand one another. So it's extremely important that we understand the culture of each and every one, because with that understanding, then it becomes easy to have intercultural, inter-ethnic dialogue. So I invite you to follow me on this journey as we share knowledge about Bemba, UmuBemba, being a Bemba person and being and having the qualities of a Bemba person. Most of the times you hear me talk about Bemba or Bemba, okay, but other people, you hear them talk about Bemba. Okay, I'll not use the word Bemba because we don't have such a word. It doesn't exist. In the language of Bemba, we don't have hard B's, so it's a soft B. So it's a Bemba person, not a Bemba person. That doesn't exist. It's just something that is manufactured on the street. So we won't appropriate such a thing. Okay. So that is one of the most important things. And I want to share with you just one more little thing, okay, so that you understand what we are talking about. I'm putting on this. In English they call it a feather-headed dress. Okay? In Chibemba we call it ingala. Ingala. And it is this item that gives us the sayings like umweni wangala monshipokererwa, olomutwe oshilingala chishiki, olomutwe nengala mutwe nemilando. Okay, I won't translate those. Now, ingala, they say the dress for our Bemba, and I think for quite a good number of Africans as well. It's a very important item of piece of clothing. Okay, and it is something that you can trace to ancient Egypt as well, 3,500 years before the birth of Christ. UmuBemba and their ancestors in north of Africa used the word ma'at. Okay, there was a mulungu, a nature spirit that they called Ma'at. Some people call it goddess, but it's not a goddess, it's a nature spirit. Ma'at. Okay, so what you see here, these are the feathers of Mahat. Okay, the feathers of Mahat, and the nature spirit Mahat stood for truth, justice, and order. Okay, ancient Egyptian believed that without Ma'at there is no order, there is no justice, there is no truth. Now, UmuBemba used to honor some of their people, the older ones, those who have mastered UmuBemba with Ngala. Okay. When you encountered UmuBemba with Ngala, you encountered UmuBemba who has reached a level of understanding that assures you that in your dealings with that person, you encounter justice, you encounter truth, and you encounter order. Okay, I hope we are good there. The ancient Egyptians depicted Mahat as a winged woman with an ostrich feather in her head. Okay, so ideally an ostrich feather is used, but we are using a different feather for I think. So those are the smaller things I wanted you to understand. The other thing I want you to understand is some cultural item that I'll be referring to quite often, and that is called Chinkolobondo. This is a miniature Chinkolobondo. Usually we have a bigger one which is used for pounding cassava meal. Okay, it's a big one. We put cassava here, and one woman will be pounding on one side and another woman on the other side. Okay, now when UmuBemba encounters something that they're struggling to understand, there were songs. Tuchitwalioko bachibashile wechinkolobondo. 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 What that song actually means is that let us take it back where it was carved. This Chinkolobondo. Okay, because when you take something back where it was carved, okay, you will be able to understand it very well right there, because the people that fashioned something are the people that understand how what they meant this to be. Okay, so there are many things that are there are many items of culture that were carved by our ancestors in a very far past. Okay, now if we want to understand them, we have to take them back there, where to the time when our ancestors carved those things, and try to understand those cultural items from there. And that's why on this channel, what we'll be doing is that we'll be picking up some cultural artifacts and then take them back in history and see what these things meant for our ancestors and what they can mean for us now. Some of this information we have already shared in these books, so if you're interested to learn more about UmuBemba and UmuBemba, we have these smaller books, this one and this one. These are three. They are only 100 kwacha each, 150 kwacha each. That's about, well, $12. Okay, this one is a little bit more expensive. It's more thorough, and this is 1,000 kwacha per copy. It's about $50. Okay, you can contact me and you have one of these books in your hands. You learn a lot about UmuBemba and UmuBemba, and you appreciate what we are talking about here. Thank you very much, and hope you follow us as we go. Like our channel, subscribe, okay, so that you'll be able to follow what we are talking about.